Hey everybody, today we're in south central Idaho. Called the Magic Valley, this place holds some truly beautiful natural wonders. We'll cover waterfalls that rival Niagara and springs that flow straight out of cliff sides, and even one woman's passion for Guernsey dairy cows. So I hope you'll come along. So we're here just a little ways northwest of Twin Falls, Idaho. And we're kind of in the middle of the desert, but down in the Snake River Canyon. And emerging from the wall of the canyon is something that's really remarkable, especially in this desert setting. It's called Niagara Falls. Let's take a look. I don't know if the camera can catch it very well, but I love how blue this water is down here. It's just looks crystal clear, looks really cold, but just a marvelous shade of blue. Just beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And it's just here on the edge of this cliff. It's just emerging from the cliff. It's wide. Over here, you can see a little bit over here, so we're not even getting the full view. So no guesses as to why they call it Niagara Springs. So Niagara Springs is just up behind me, and it feeds a fish hatchery here, just on the other side of the river. The river fed by the springs crosses under the road here and into these sluices or channels. And then just behind all of these trees and bushes is the Idaho State Fish Hatchery. Or at least one of their fish hatcheries, but my goodness. Check out how beautiful that water is. Oh man, it's astonishing, truly astonishing in how crystal clear that is. It's like Caribbean blue and clear. This is something that you really have to experience here in person. I'd love to stick a camera down there. But it feeds this waterfall down here, and it goes into a little kind of bay type area, and it feeds the fish hatchery, and then there's some public access down here at the bottom. Still can't get over how blue that is. It's beautiful. All of this feeds down into the Snake River. This seems to be the only public access point below the actual springs itself. Of course, the fish hatchery up there. Just crystal clear water. Beautiful shades of green and blue. Wonderful. So we've traveled about 10 or so minutes southwest of where we were at Niagara Springs, and we're here at what's called Box Canyon. And at the bottom of Box Canyon here is another really awesome spring. Let's check it out. So we're here on the top of the plain, and this would feel just like an average desert in the American West, except for the massive pelicans flying around. You wouldn't know that there's any water to be found out here. But down here in this Box Canyon is a remarkable natural gem. And this is a really neat vantage point. You can just hear the gentle roar of the water going down these rapids here. It's just crazy to think that there's this amount of water here in the desert. And again, like at Niagara Springs, the water's so blue and clear here. Look how perfectly blue and inviting that looks down there. It looks like at one time there was a waterfall. And there's an geological information board more towards the road that says this was the result of a mega flood tens of thousands of years ago. And you can see right here, this was a waterfall, and the water was rushing at such force that it created this abrasive scar here in the rim. But what happens is there's water beneath the ground up here, and it just kind of filters down in the cliff, and then it emerges here in this massive spring. But just absolutely gorgeous. And all around here is just this volcanic rock, these craggly cliffs. It's a bit thrilling to stand on a cliff like this. Again, just beautiful. It's maybe about 200 feet down, not counting the eroded slope there. Over here in these cliff caves, you can hear birds calling and flying around. Clearly we need David Attenborough out here to narrate some nature documentary about the micro ecosystem that this spring provides. But down this way there's a trail. You can cross over the fence here and you can follow the trail down, and apparently that goes down in the canyon, and then you can actually get in the water at that point. Over here, looks like we have an old school. So we've got the flagpole, and then over here you've got the old schoolyard swing sets. But today it looks like it's a house of sorts. So a few minutes further west of Box Canyon is called Thousand Springs and Ritter Island. It's more of a public park area. There's a lot of water in the bottom of the valley to kayak, and there's a park, and it's really beautiful. But it's called Thousand Springs for a reason. Up higher on the road down, you can see lots of little springs just bubbling out of the mountain. And over here, we've got this huge waterfall. Well, it's not huge, but it's fairly big. And on a hot day, like what today's going to be, you've got this wonderful mist coming off the falls. And it just comes into this green, mossy pool, and then flows underneath a culvert, and then eventually ends out in the river here. But just a very green and lush microenvironment compared to all of the dry desert surrounding it. It's beautiful. I don't know if you can see him on camera. There's a little rock chuck scurrying about. So here at Thousand Springs is a place called Ritter Island. We're on the island now. And behind me is a house that was built a little more than 100 years ago by a woman named Minnie Miller, a wealthy Salt Lake businesswoman who came up and purchased this island to turn it into a farm or a ranch to develop the perfect or prize-winning Guernsey cow. And so a lot of the farm and infrastructure that she built here is still here, and it leads to a very interesting history. I'm going to enter the barn and milking parlor. Have some old milk implements, an old stove, Goddess of the Rockies, Meadowmilk. I really do like the old font in these on these signs. But you know, a lot of this is in original condition. So this is the milking parlor. And the cows would be fed in this trough. And this was the watering bowl. And this was fed by the springs. And so the cow's head would be locked in here and they'd be milked, fed and watered. Really made good use of the springs. Minnie Miller owned this farm for about 30 years and sold it to Judge W.W. Ritter in the 1950s, who took over management. So we see here remnants of his signs. And what's also neat about this is we've got the math doodles here on the wall. I mean, you can tell this is not run-of-the-mill graffiti, is who would be doing addition, multiplication, division on the wall here. And at the time, when you milked a cow, you weighed their milk. You measured it not in gallons, but in pounds. And so this scale was used to weigh the milk a cow produced, and then you kept track of that to track the particular cow's profitability. Fairbanks scales. This is a copy of the National Geographic from 1944, June, so 80 years ago this month, where Minnie Miller was featured for all of her good work here on this island. There's a newspaper write-up of Minnie. And down here, we've got trophies and all these awards that Minnie won. IGBA Outstanding Guernsey Breeders Award, Minnie Miller, 1953. Presumably a jawbone of one of the Guernseys. You can see it's been gnawed by rodents when it was out in the field. You can see their little teeth marks. In here is essentially a milk laboratory. So Minnie kept her test cows in here. And you can see this was a feeding stall or trough. And then that side doesn't have it, but this side we've got the water dish with the fresh, cool water piped in. And so these cows were kept in here to test the feed. So they were given each a different feed until the milk quality was dialed into what Millie wanted. And then all of the cows were given the same feed. So again, this was like a milk laboratory 100 years ago. We've got a display of various typical farm implements from the day. We got branding irons and bull emasculators, all kinds of fun stuff. We got blacksmith tools. Of course, this being wood, you needed to keep an eye out for any fire hazard and had to fight it. Luckily, there was never any fires here, but the old electrical light fixtures. Here's a lock the cow in and open it up, and then the cow could get out again. And then this room here is where the feed was prepared. And so this would clean the corn, get it all shucked and prepared to use in feeding. then you'd mix your food in here and get it ready to go out. And what's unique about this is we saw how there were mathematic equations on the other wall. Here we've got feed recipes and feed expectations. So it says 1 coffee can full of bran, 1 coffee can 2/3 full of rolled grain to each cow. Can't make out this word here, once a day. And then of hay, about 2/3 of a bale a day for both. Look at water in something every day or two. So, neat little preserved part of the farm here. And then this feels like a massive space. This, of course, is the hayloft. And so I don't know if you could quite see it on camera, but up there is a rail and a block and tackle, and you could use it to move the hay in and around the barn here to stack it evenly. And there's the door where the hay would come in. So the rail goes outside, you lift it up, doors open, bring it in. And then when you needed it, you would pitch it down this chute here. And it would go down to the bottom, oops, where there would be a wheelbarrow waiting. So, it just smells like nice old wood. And then about the same time that Minnie was developing the farm here, this became a hydroelectric power station. And so because we've got thousands of little springs that just burst from the mountain here, you could see some of them here, and then there, and then way down there, you could see some. That's cool. You can see a bubbler and people on the river kayaking and paddleboarding. But anyway, back to the power. What they did is they built this concrete trough all along the ridge here, just below the springs. And so the water flows into this trough, and then it gets collected into this big chute, and then it goes down into this power station here. And the power station is built like a castle. So we've got, I don't know if you can see it, right there we've got some parapets. Really neat stuff. Rich inheritance, registered Guernseys. Got the cow, we got the bull. You can see, if there wasn't a glare, bull's got a nose ring. So I guess Guernsey bulls are very ill-tempered, while Guernsey cows are very mild-mannered. And today, your milk products typically don't come from Guernsey cows, although they have a really high butterfat content. They're not as profitable as Holsteins. So a lot of the milk dairy products that you get at the store typically come from Holstein cows. And in order to maximize or allow airflow, got these windows designed to kip out. And so air could flow in through the top, and you could do the same on the other side there. So you get a nice cross breeze going. And then you can also close them up by just laying them flush against the wall and locking them up, and there you go. So this style of window is still popular in places like Europe, where you can either kip them out or you can kind of kip them open just a skosh to let some airflow in. Just an outside look of the barn. What I love about it is it's a quintessential barn. I guess the only thing that isn't quintessential about it is the fact that it's not red, but that's okay. It's still a really neat barn. As I understand it, Minnie, she was very innovative, technologically speaking, where she utilized the springs here to provide fresh water for the cows, as well as preserve the milk. She used the cool spring water to essentially create a kind of air conditioning for her house back in the 1920s, which I believe air conditioning was around back then, but it was extremely expensive, and you were unlikely to find it out here in rural Idaho. As you walk up and down the river here, you certainly get the sense of why they call it Thousand Springs, because all along the cliff edge here, there's just springs everywhere. Some of them are probably a little difficult to see on camera, but just like right there, and some over there, just get little glimpses of them. Some of them are quite small. In fact, most of them are quite small. But then you get these bigger ones. And then over there are the really big ones that are collected for hydroelectric power generation. And more crystal clear water. The house here is preserved in its 1920s, 1930s style, and is now owned by the state of Idaho. And you can actually rent this house out. The local guide says this house is rentable for $300 a night. Sleeps 10 people, and there's a minimum of a 2-night stay. And so when you rent this place, you get this entire lawn, you get a beach access or bank access, and you can fish and just take it easy. So this is a really neat place. Had no idea this was here. The tiny little vineyard here. Over here we've got this pink house, which has also recently been renovated and is also rentable. Then we have this little cottage, and then another house over here, which I don't think is rentable at all. But we also have the remnants of the orchard. Also have this nice little wooded area here. Here's the riverfront in front of the house here. And when you rent the house, like I said, you can't, I mean, the public's not supposed to go just, walking through the grass. So that's why you see some towels out there, as it's currently occupied. But right there you can see a screen porch. And yeah, like I said, it's kept its original 1920s interior. So if you're looking for a vintage rental experience, or just a vintage experience, this is the place to come. Just almost painfully beautiful. Oh, over on the other side we got a rock chuck. It's kind of about right there behind those little bushes. Now we've arrived at Shoshone Falls. It's beautiful. I don't know that it's really comes across that well on camera, but it's big. It is higher than Niagara Falls. It's obviously not as wide, and at the moment there isn't as much water coming down as you would see if the river was untapped or unrestricted. As a lot of the water from the Snake River gets pulled up into irrigation of farm fields up into Blackfoot, and really as so far as where the Snake River begins. And that's why the Magic Valley is called Magic Valley, is because of the water the Snake River provides to turn arid desert into farmland. Then down here, this is as far as salmon will come up. Obviously they are not going to get up these falls. But really, it is impressive. Wonder if there were ever any boat companies that came up the river, sort of like Niagara. Go take a tour in the mist, and then scoot back down the river. We're pretty high up. Some people mistakenly think that the hydroelectric dam over there is the cause of the lack of water that comes over the falls later in the summer. However, it is not true. It's the agriculture that is required of the Snake River. Well, everyone, thank you for joining me on this trip through the magical river country of south central Idaho. This is called the Magic Valley, and it truly is magic, not just because of the agriculture, but because of the natural wonders this area provides. I mean, the plateaus above the river are truly a dry desert, and to see springs and water just flow out of the sides of the cliffs, it's almost a miracle, and I'm sure it appeared to be a miracle to peoples of the past. This is a place that's highly worth visiting. Come visit Twin Falls and experience this for yourself. So with that said, I'd like to thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.